For those of you who have completed the Android Image Viewer Part 4 episode, I recommend you to do this one as well. It's probably the most important one yet. Welcome to Mobile Application Tutorials. My name's Nigel. As mentioned, I highly recommend you to do this episode. There's a couple of issues we have to resolve, and let me just show you the first major issue. Okay, I'm going to go to our Android Studio. Before I run the application, I'm going to select this memory tab. So when I start the application, I can see how much memory the application is consuming. Okay, so now let's run the application on the device. I'm just going to record it so you can get a bit of context to see what I'm doing. Okay, so at the moment, the application's using around about 11 megabytes of memory. Okay, that's fine. Now let's see what happens when we load an image into the application. Okay, already you can see a big increase up, and we've jumped up from 11 up to 57 megabytes, just loading a single image. That's unnecessary. We're loading the entire image into just a small image view on my screen. We don't need to consume that much memory. And if you're going to be doing that with like image galleries, you're going to have major problems. You're going to run out of memory, the application's going to crash, you're going to affect the running of your device. And the second issue is when you load images, you're consuming time. The actual thread, what you call the processor, is spending all its time loading the image, and we've also got a very important job to do, which is keeping our application display refreshed. And if we're doing something else, we can affect the refresh rate and get frames dropped on our display on our application, which make your application look all stuttering, giving it a terrible user effect. So we've got two things to address here. Load the images on another thread, don't affect the UI thread, and load much smaller images as well, so it's quicker and we're not going to run out of memory or affect the usage of the phone itself. Okay, there's a number of ways we can approach this. If we look at this tutorial here, this is from the one of my original tutorial series. It's creating a camera using the camera intent, and I do explain how to load a smaller size image. So I recommend that for addressing one of the issues. Okay, the second issue is creating another thread to actually load the bitmap into your image view. And I've got another tutorial series here, and I'll point to the episode here to show you how you can do that, creating a background thread as well as doing the image resizing as well. So I've got two different tutorial series that does cover this. You will notice that the complexity of the code does jump right up, and for learners to Android, it might be too much of a jump, just to be frank. So what I'm going to do here is use a third-party image loading library called Glide. And I have reviewed that and tested that. I've created a performance profiling tutorial series that you might want to see here. And the reason I'm going to be using Glide is because it's just very simple to set up and install. If you're going to use some of the other image libraries, there's a bit more work to the installation. And for beginners to Android, I want the simplest image loading library to install, and Glide is a very good library for that. Okay, so let's make a start on installing Glide for this, and then we'll go back to checking how much memory is being consumed using Glide. Okay, now if I go to the Glide website here, I just done a search for Android Glide image loading library, something to that effect. It takes me to the Github site. That's okay, there's got a README down here that's describing what Glide's about, and then it gives you the download and installation instructions here. So basically I'm going to use Gradle, and it's just giving me, I'm just going to copy these two lines here. One for the Glide library itself and one for the Android support library. Okay, go back to my application. Now I need to put those two dependencies into my build.gradle. I believe this is the one down here. And here it is here. It's just a matter of pasting these two. Let me save that. Now notice I'm getting a little bit of an error here. Basically my SDK version is 23. So I'm going to change this 19 here to 23. And save that. And as you can see, the little red lines disappeared. Now, after you've changed these dependencies, you will need to resync your Gradle file. So I'm just going to resync now. Okay, that sync's now being completed. Now I can go to my main source file here. So if we look in this portion of code here, this is where we're loading the full bitmap into the image view. It's unnecessary. So first of all, I'm just going to comment out this code here. Oh. Okay, I've commented out that line of code there. Now the two main things I need is the location of where my image is and the destination ImageView to put that image into. And I can do all that with Glide. So it's just a matter of calling Glide. Not Glide, Glide. Now it wants the context, so I can just use this for the context. Now I'm just going to go back to documentation. It will give me instructions on how to use this. So it's basically with, load, into. Okay, so loading is going to be the URI and into is going to be the image view itself. So select load, and this will be the URI in this case. And it's going to be into, and that will be our image view. Okay, and that's all you need to do for this particular library. As I mentioned before, Glide's probably the easiest library for a developer to use for loading and downloading images, which you can do as well. It's a pretty powerful library. Okay, now let's try running that and see if we get any difference in image size. And one other point to note is Glide's also going to load your images on another thread. So it's going to take off the burden off the UI thread, so you shouldn't see any bad effects or stuttering on your applications if you're using Glide. It'll do it in another thread. So what I want to do here is select Android monitor. And you'll notice I've got my memory tab selected. Okay, now I'm going to run the application again. Application's now started up. Now it is using, oh no, we've now dropped down. So it's using similar amount, about around 11 megabytes when it's first started up. And that's what it used without the library as well. Now let's select image. All these images are the same size. Okay, and now if we look at the memory consumption, it's very minor. It's just gone up by 2 megabytes instead of 40 odd megabytes that we saw in the previous one. So already it's loading a lot smaller image and Glide does work out the sizes of the images as well. It calculates your image view and then works out how much it needs to load of a resized image, a smaller sized image, into your image view, which is what you're seeing happening there. Glide is also loading the images on the background thread, as I mentioned as well. So it's resolving both our problems. And if I just scroll down here, it's just basic, it's just one command that we're calling. So it was easy to install and easy to set up for your image view and your bitmaps as well. So now I can say, right, now our application's okay to be released. We're not going to put any additional burden on the UI thread, and we're consuming a lot less memory by using this library as such. Okay, that concludes part 5 of the ImageView tutorial series. What we learned from this tutorial series is we learned that bitmaps, care does need to be taken in the dimensions and the overall size of the bitmap. You can affect your application or the actual device itself, so be conscious of how much of the size of your bitmap you're going to put into your image view. And also when you're loading bitmaps, please load them on another thread. Use a third-party image library, or you can view the tutorial series that I indicated to before. Anyway, that's it for this one. This tutorial series is still going to go on, and I've got other tutorial series I'm working on, so if you want to be notified of those, click on click on that subscribe button down below. And if you want to be kept updated with all the latest changes that mobile application tutorials is involved in, I regularly update my Twitter, my Facebook, my Google+, and my Pinterest accounts with all the latest news. And probably most importantly is a link to my website above. And that's where tutorials such as this, I put links to the code which gets uploaded to Github, and there's also brief explanations of the code changes that I make to those as well. So it's a very important background reference material to these actual videos, and the videos are up there as well. Anyway, that's all for this one. Bye for now.